Well,
Huh.
Joe Lamond, you could have been talking to, let's see, Garth Brooks, Melissa Etheridge, Nancy Wilson, or any big celebrity, but you chose Brian Burke, the editor of the Music and Sound Retailer, to speak to you today. So, first of all, I appreciate getting included in the group, but I apologize for you scraping the bottom of the barrel and talking to me right now. So,
All I know is I am talking to the newest podcasting star in the music world, and Rogan has nothing on you. And I think you'll soon have more followers. You're going to have to move to a better tax state to handle your income. It's going to be great, and it's been fun to watch you on your journey.
so I should start my own podcast as well. I think
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, I'll have you promote that for me.
Absolutely. I want to be your first guest. How's that?
Hey, I'm open for that. Absolutely. When I start that, I had thought about that. So, but Joe, I'm here with Joe Lamond, the president and CEO of NAMM. I think for the viewers, what we should come up and say is this is the first. We're going to have another interview in about a month. Today, we're going to go through the logistics of Summer NAMM. I think that's what's important right now. In a month from now, we're going to get into more with Joe about when you're there, what events you might want to do, what you might want to see. But I mean, right now, let's talk about all logistics, because there's a lot of stuff we should go over. If you're going to leave the door as a retailer to go to Summer NAMM, what you need to know. So before we get into all these details, and I guess I'll just rapid fire throw them at you. Tell me the importance of having an in-person Summer NAMM show for you. I know that was a big goal, big quest. So why is it so important?
Well, it's like, how did we get here, right? I mean, how did we arrive? It's March 31st, 2021. A year ago, the world was falling. It was hard to come by anyone who was optimistic for the future. And everyone was, psychologically shutting down, protecting, right? And that's how humans act, right? That's just exactly when faced with threats or fear, it's what humans do. And that's what was the right thing to do then. Obviously, this was a pandemic that none of us had ever been, very few people alive today would ever have had that experience, but we had it. And now we know this is how it goes. But at some point, any time in history where those things have occurred, there's some point when the mood shifts, right? It goes from hunker down and protect to opportunity, growth. I guess the economists call it from fear to greed, and that's where we're at right now. It is turning. And that's just the global economy. Now we're a subset of that, but that's where we're at now. So you have to recognize where we are in this place, right? We can be talking about this because we actually are in this moment. How did we get here? Probably because of, the miracles. We were talking about the miracle of vaccines and how, in such short time, we're able to talk about states opening up vaccines to anyone over 16 and above, a year later. Crazy to think about that. Fastest ever probably in history. So we are at an inflection point. Maybe that's a long way of saying, I believe we're at an inflection point on moving from that space to more of a growth mentality. And that's why I think gathering face-to-face this summer was important, as opposed to waiting till next January. So that's how the decision came around to say, you know what, it's that Wayne Gretzky. We were skating to where the puck was going to be. This was a couple months ago, right? Here we are trying to project out to July and where vaccines were going to be. We had no idea mid-February. We had, good information and good intel, but so here we are now, basically on early April, and it is moving the way we wanted it to. We believe we can put on a safe, small, just the right people there gathering for the industry to capture that. Let's move forward into growth mode. That's why I think is why, for me especially, recognizing this moment in the industry's trajectory, why it was so important to take that risk and say, let's try and build a platform. Let's see if we can do it safely, but let's see if we can build that platform that people in the industry have depended on for so long.
What's been the feedback so far that you've received from retailers and manufacturers alike? Are they, are the manufacturers pretty excited to exhibit? Or are they cautious about it? And how are the retailers? Are the retailers saying they're, yes, I'm planning to come. Maybe some are saying I'm still too concerned. I mean, what thoughts are you getting there?
Well, again, these are all moments in time, right? And that's the important thing to realize, that we're recording this on Wednesday morning, the 31st of March. Someone will be listening to it in days or weeks afterwards. And by the way, by the time someone listens to it, the entire story could have changed. So just stipulate that, right? But yeah, I think if I look at the trajectory early on, and I mean early, like a month ago, 6 weeks ago, it was like, is this really going to happen? Can you really pull this off? And then we sent our team to Nashville 2 weeks ago to work with the city, work with the convention center, and see exactly what they were doing. and when they arrived back in the office here and said, basically, Joe, there isn't a pandemic in Nashville. And I go, what do you mean? No, the city's wide open. The bars are full. Broadway is packed. There are bachelorette parties running. Wait a minute. What do you mean? In California, everything is like locked down here, still.
Yeah.
And they just were like, no, I think we're going to be okay in Nashville. So, I mean, the idea, at least that as a city, they have embraced the fact that they need to open up, and they need to open up safely. So, so over that 6-week period, it went from, can we really do this, to, yeah, I think we can do this. And the exhibitors are the one who have to make the earlier decisions, right? They're making decisions now. And the retailers can wait a little bit longer, because a lot of them may drive in and they don't have a tremendous amount of logistics to plan for it, where the exhibitors do. But yeah, I think it's going to be important gathering. It's not all about huge exhibits at all this time. Summer never was. I think this is actually more of a time to have supplier and dealer actually. Yes, there are many who have said, we're going to have a big booth because we do have a lot of new products. We have 18 months of pent up new products we want to share, but not everybody. But everyone to a person has said, we need to meet. We need to sit down with our customers and with our vendors and talk about what worked through the pandemic, what didn't. Let's solve some of these orders and supply chain challenges that even Joel mentioned in your interview with him last week, and really plan together how we're going to get this climb out into the fall and into the holiday selling season. So I think, yes, there are many who are going to have some new products. And again, those are the ones who went from fear to greed pretty quickly, like opportunity. Yes. And then there are a bunch who we need to get together and talk, and we need to solve some problems, and we need to strengthen the relationships, and we need to plan, we need to strategize, and we need to create strategy and marketing plans to make sure that as we globally come out of this pandemic, we're going to have every opportunity to capture what just happened, which was a tremendous upside for our industry, right? The amount of home music making during the pandemic, are we going to just let that slip away? No, we need to plan and strategize to make sure we keep that and get back to school music and get back to live concerts and touring. And so it's yes, and I think that's what's important to get face to face on. I love these Zoom calls, right? We've been doing them forever. This is my little Zoom station in the office. I have a desk there, and I come over here in my Zoom station. It's like,
yeah.
I'm ready to leave the Zoom station.
You got professional equipment set up there. That's pretty cool.
It's wonderful, but I'm ready to leave the Zoom station. I don't know about you. So that's the response we're getting. It's like, man, we need to get together. We need to talk. NESMD wanted to get together with their dealers. The AIM group needs to get together with their dealers and their vendors. I mean, this is really about people who sell stuff or make stuff, and people who sell stuff. They're going to get together, and they're going to work together to make sure that we come out of this pandemic stronger than ever. That's what Summer NAMM's about this year.
Okay, great. Okay, let's start with a lot of logistical things.
Yeah.
First, you decided to Summer NAMM used to be Thursday to Saturday. You decided to shorten it to 2 days, Thursday and Friday, and now you're going to have NASMD on Tuesday and Wednesday joining you. So, what's the thought process behind that?
When we were speaking with the NASMD board, and Whitney has been unbelievably brave on this. What a leader they have in Whitney. from Ted Brown Music. The thought was, they were going to do an abbreviated conference. Again, they have not met. They'll have missed 2 of their cycles of the spring NASMD meeting. So they're going to do an abbreviated conference. Working with all the AIM folks, they really value getting together in Nashville with their vendors, especially planning for the independent dealers. Planning a successful fall and winter is critical, right? And looking what they would need time wise. And then adding all that up, we realized, okay, let's try and bring people in on a Tuesday and let's get them out on a Friday so that they can still be home for the weekend, or they can possibly, if they want to stay, enjoy Nashville. Many people have not been out for, at that point, 18 months, and maybe just a night in Nashville might not be a bad, little dose of medicine of live music. So we extended the hours on Thursday and Friday. I think it's only a few hours shorter total without having Saturday. But we extended the hours so you could still get as much work done, but just do it in a more condensed time frame, more efficient. So that's really how we arrived at that. I think NASMD is going to have an open reception Monday night, but it's really Tuesday through Friday. We're going to try and have NASMD on Tuesday, AIM primarily on Wednesday, and there'll be other groups. There's House of Worship groups that are meeting. There's a bunch of other buyer group meeting that are also going to occur on Wednesday. Thursday show opens. Thursday night, top 100 dealer awards. That'll be kind of the culminating where we'll gather, all the tribes will gather on Thursday night at a little bit of a hang, right? The first physical NAMM industry hang that we've had in 18 months. Show day all day Friday afternoon, late afternoon, disperse, stay, whatever people need to do. But that's how we looked at how can we make the most ROI for people's time? How can we make the most efficient use of a show floor? And of course, do it safely and do it in a way that also, kept in mind, this may be the first trip out for many of the people who are going to be there. This may be their first little toe in the water. Now, I've flown, a lot of us have flown already and been around out and about, but I can tell you, for those who may not have, the first time out is you're nervous traveling. And I can imagine many of these attendees are going to be very nervous. Masks, sanitizer, distancing, all the things that we've been thinking about. When you first get out, again, for those, many of your listeners have already been traveling they've had to. This is how the world works. Not everyone could just hunker down. Some had to get out there, and we have too. But the first time you're out, you're nerve wracking. And I remember going to the airport for the first time after the pandemic broke out and being nervous about even like TSA or, how does this work again? Or packing was so strange. But then I got to the airport and I smelled the Cinnabons and I go, okay, it's all coming back to me. This is how this goes. And then you become Joe Traveler again,
Yeah.
But yeah, just to respect everyone's time, make the most of their trip to Nashville, and provide real ROI value for both the dealers and for the suppliers.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, I'm going to have to get used to it because I haven't actually taken a plane since 2020 NAMM. So, okay. So I'll be one of those nervous flyers, but it's okay. It's not a really long flight for me. So I'll be all set. So.
Natural though, but you know what? It's totally natural. I mean, this was, COVID is one of those things where I know people who have gotten it and they had a sniffle.
Yeah.
I know people who have gotten it and someone my age who had a reaction and now they have total heart failure. They need a heart transplant at age 59. Wow. And then we all know people, as we saw in the tribute during the Believe Music Week, we all know people who have died. So when you've got something that can be a sniffle or could like kill you, that's scary. And so I guess my point is we were absolutely correct to be very, what's the right word? Scared is not the right word. Respectful of what this thing was. It was a mother. And, the fact that people were careful, how we, funded these studies about how students could play music together safely in a classroom, especially with all the wind instruments. This stuff was real, and we had to be absolutely respectful to the feelings that people had about it. Some people would never travel. Some people were more cavalier and said, I'm just going out. I mean, some people say, well, I ride motorcycles. I know I do stupid, dangerous stuff every day, but the idea that there's all kinds of responses. And that's how I'd like to think about Summer NAMM or even Winter NAMM next year too. There's some that just won't feel safe doing it, or things we'll have to do over and above to make people feel more comfortable doing it. Everyone's opinion is valued, and I respect everyone's opinion on that spectrum of I'm never leaving the house again to, I'm going to bungee jump into the next NAMM show. So everything is relative, and you can't judge, right? People have to make their own choices, but our role as organizers is to do everything we can, and that's follow the guidance from the federal, state, and local level, making sure that the convention center, both the convention centers we work in, Nashville and Anaheim, have the GBAC certification, the highest level certification that is now awarded to these venues for cleanliness, air filtration, traffic flow. There's a certification for these venues that speak to making sure they're as clean as can possibly be, sort of like the way airplanes have done, with HEPA filters and everything. That's the part we as organizers have that responsibility, and think about it differently, think about traffic flow differently. In my mind's eye, a successful, Winter NAMM is those pictures of just throngs of people in the aisle, and maybe that's not the best way to look at success these days. Maybe there's different ways to judge success. Did people get to see what they wanted to see? Did the exhibitors meet the people they wanted to meet, and vice versa? So this is going to look different. Nothing's going to look the same after this. It all is going to look different, and maybe that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk about some of these specific safety. I don't know if features is the right word here, but requirements. Maybe that's a better word. Okay, with NASMD, it's in the Hilton. Is that right? So it's and then obviously Nashville Convention Center.
Yeah.
Okay, when we walk in, what is going to be the requirement? Number one, are we going to need to have proof of vaccination, or we're going to need to have proof of a negative test? Are there going to be, we have to have masks on at all time when we're indoors? Can you give us, what some of the guidelines that you're expecting to have there when we show up?
Right now, a lot of everything you just said would be in place. I believe by July, a lot of that will be removed. One of the hot button issues in the concert industry right now is the idea of a vaccination passport, right, to where to get into a concert or a festival, your ticket on your phone won't be validated until you upload proof of vaccination. Very hot topic right now in the concert and festival planning. There's no resolution on that yet. I don't think it's going to be regulated. It would be a matter of whether the large promoters decide it's a good idea or not. That's not decided yet, and I'm not sure we would even have we would go there or not. Right now, temperature checks would be required, and that's going to be, I'll bet you that'll be gone by July. Common sense stuff like masks, sanitizer, distancing, making sure we lay out the exhibits in a much more open fashion. There may be a booth and then a space, and then another booth, then a space. There'll be a lot more of the island booths, which means, picture like the Martin guitar booth. Instead of on a long row, it'll have its own 360 around it as an island. I think there's going to be a lot more of that. It'll look more spaced out. We have hall B and C, so that A and D can be empty on either side of us. The picture of the convention center in Nashville. It's 4 big halls. We're going to have the middle 2 halls so that we can have empty on both sides, and have more space that way. Honestly, one of the things I've had to give a lot of thought is our aisle carpet. There is some thought to say that, hey, without aisle carpet, you can mop this thing down every night. And so, we'll get really sore feet. And then I go, wait a minute, without carpet, it could be really louder than it's ever been. So those are things we're still sorting out. What is the best practice? And that's going to be not just our event, but any event that goes in there or around in the trade show world, we'll be looking at what are those best practices. But, I think there'll be a lot of personal responsibility that we will want all our members to think about. Again, respecting others and their space, making sure that they are wearing masks and practicing all the safe things that we know. And again, I've flown a lot. I know it can be done. I know how you can be on a plane safely, and it works. Um, my new son-in-law has this great saying. That's what I love about the guy. He's an artistic guy, but he's just got a great view of life, which is just, hey man, be cool, man. And just the most fundamental thing about how do we treat each other with respect in a place, in a gathering like that is, hey man, just be cool. And I think that'll be a real part of our industry. I think we're totally, as an industry, I think very good at that, respecting each other. So yeah, so I think the show floor will look different. Things will be way more spread out. We'll have two halls when we probably wouldn't even need two halls, but we'll use that. One of the things we're thinking about is having all the sessions like that would have been down in the Davidson Ballroom, the opening session, occur on the main floor. So the Idea Center will be a little bigger, but that's where we'll do all um, the main gatherings, like would be the morning sessions, would be held there, so that we also have the opportunity to just keep everyone in the same place, right? Galvanize the energy of that show floor and keep everyone there instead of moving them all around. But we will have all the meeting rooms one level down that some of the exhibitors use, but also we've used for different NAMM meetings or Mary Lewison's foundation meetings, things like that. So we'll have the the B and C floor, and then we'll have meeting rooms right below. So that's really, I think it won't look tremendously different than what people when they saw it in 19. But we're going to have to make some big adjustments in the post-pandemic world about how to keep everybody safe, how to keep everybody moving, and things at night about cleaning the building. The Idea Center in between sessions is going to have to be sanitized. Just all the things that you would have not seen before, that people will be. I think, again, it's a little more inconvenient in some ways for people want to just rush into another session. Hey, just wait a second, we're going to clean everything. I think everyone will be patient. I think everyone will understand why we're doing those things. And you know, everyone coming together, especially like in a traditional NAMM show, it's a melting pot of people from all around the world. And, catching a cold or something like that was kind of not uncommon, right? I mean, I generally would, try and leave the week after the Winter NAMM show open so that I would be ready to not feel well, not always. Ironically, 2020 NAMM show is the one year I don't think I did get sick afterwards. But, taking these precautions is actually, I think, going to make all shows safer. I think it's going to make all shows in many ways more productive, but also bringing people together like that safely is it's going to, there's many silver linings in all this. And that's one of them. I think all events going forward will be safer, cleaner, and uh, much more productive, I think.
Yeah, no question. If you don't get sick after, or I mean that's definitely a tremendous benefit.
You bring people together.
S-
I mean, that's just, again, going back to the Silk Road, right? People have been gathering. They gather for a specific reason. Again, for the 6,000 years of recorded human history, people have gathered, and that's just a part of it. How do we do it safely?
Something else I wanted to bring up. I know it sounds a little crazy. We're an MI magazine, but it is a part of the event. And you do have to think about it. And that's the food and the drink component. I was wondering, I wanted to ask you about, because that I'm kind of fascinated about. I'm assuming you can't have the same buffet you have at the breakfast sessions. That probably would not work out with people going into the same places constantly and grabbing that same food from those dishes. So how you had the, have you thought about, I'm sure you have, but how are you going to change that? Are you going to have it? I mean, are you going to have food? Are you going to have events with drinks at night? I mean, later on, how is that going to change?
The good news about that is there's a lot of thought being put into it, and there's a lot of guidance being put into that from CDC. In this, for example, Nashville has a real strong health and safety department of the city. So it's not on us to try and figure all that out, which is great. You really do need really serious, scientific and medical and professional minds making those decisions. Not me. But I can tell you right now, there's no food or drink on the show floor that's permitted as of now. That could change by July, but that's one of the rules under the levels that they're at now. No food or drink on the show floor, and then no buffets like that. So yeah, if we do top 100 dinner, it'll have to be plated, and everyone will be seated, and it'll be much more of a, waiters and waitresses bring your food to you at your table. So top 100 Thursday night is probably going to be a plated dinner, which is nice, going to cost more, but but it removes all those health issues that that do come up. So yeah, luckily there's great guidance on that one, and we're going to follow it to the T and probably do 2 clicks over even further, whatever they advise. I want to everything on health and safety. I'd like to do whatever they advise plus 2, more, a little more, and make sure that we do everything so we can feel like we did everything possible, that we can sleep at night and go, yeah, we really, there's a responsibility here of bringing people together. We want to know that we did everything plus some to make sure everyone was safe.
Okay, great. I guess the last thing I really want to know is I think you made it clear how safe the Music City Center will be. I call it the National Convention Center before. I'm dating myself with that one. But I do want to ask about the surrounding area, especially when you're saying you're not going to have food there. When people are going to want to go get food, I know you're working with Nashville. They have a whole program there. I think that most people would want to know that the restaurants are safe and that their hotel rooms are safe.
That's right.
So what guidelines are they taking and your talks there to make sure that it's a safe environment for us when we're going out to have our lunches, our dinners, when we get out, leave that convention center, and the hotel we're staying in at night, to make sure that everything's safe as far as that goes.
Yeah. I think hotel chains, I think restaurants have all been guided very specifically by federal, state, and local guidelines, cleanliness. And I think when we do this next one, I'll try and really have a list of the specific things like hotel rooms. Are they leaving rooms vacant 24 hours, 36 hours before? I'll try and gather all that, because I don't know exactly what each particular part of that equation is. Hotels, restaurants, airports, airplanes. There's a whole set of components that fit into someone's decision, right, to travel. But I can tell you that in traveling now, I've seen the cleanest airplanes we've ever seen. I've seen the cleanest hotel rooms or Airbnbs we've ever seen. And restaurants with spacing and respect for cleanliness seems to be better than, and maybe this again was one of the silver linings that have come out of this, that everyone has had to step up. But I think, one thing I would say, and again, this is the perspective of that a lot of our members have out there, which is, the stores have had to stay open the whole time, right? So if they were able to open, Joel had mentioned that some music stores were shut down by state mandate, and sometimes 4 to 6 weeks early on, and then they had opened with curbside or delivery only. And so the stores have really gotten this down. Any retail NAMM member has really had to think through all of this, and I think they have a more more experienced comfort level with it, because they've had to do it. That was their imperative. I think some of our manufacturers in the factory side they've been back. Martin Guitar factory people have been back and working in shifts and all doing all the things. They have a much higher fluency on how to do all this safely. But there are a bunch who haven't traveled. People who works in traditional offices that can work from home, and I think that's going to be the trepidation that people have. But I can tell you, after being out there, there is a large segment of our population. I guess maybe you see it in the media. Sometimes it's exploited in the media, in spring break photos from Miami Beach. But there is a large segment of the population that has decided to go on with living and decided that it is worth going to see loved ones, going to see taking kids to school and all that. So it's interesting to see. And I've got my son's traveling more for work now, and he said, I think it was last Monday, DFW, he lives in Dallas, he's never seen the Dallas airport so busy. And he flew to Atlanta and he said, never seen the Atlanta airport so busy. So there's just a segment of the population that has already moved on. And I think that is something that for others that they haven't gotten there yet. And it's going to take some slow toes in the water steps to get out and travel a little bit. And maybe Nashville's a good time for that, a good start for that. Many of our members will drive there so they feel safer than flying. They'll have the experience of getting out and seeing people again. Again, like when we see each other, do we just immediately go back and hugging each other? I don't think so. We're going to be like, let's try to elbow this. It's going to be an awkward dance at first about how do we actually get back together again. I mean, the NAMM show is about hugging, for better or worse, and we'll have to move past that, I think. But there's just a big portion of the population that has moved on, is what I guess I'm trying to say, and that's it's interesting to see, and that's where the world is turning. That's what I mean. The world is turning, and economy is turning, and opportunity is turning. And I think that's what the Summer NAMM show will be about. Those who have, said, okay, it's time to get back together, time to put the band back together again, in some cases, literally, if we do play the hard rock. But the idea of actually getting people back together again, it's time.
No, I mean, I always have to be unbiased to ask you the hard questions, but I'm excited about it. I mean, we haven't seen each other in such a long, it's going to be 18 months. So, I mean, it's hard not to be excited and enthusiastic. It's also saying that we see the light at the end of the tunnel. There could be something there. So, before I let you go, you just mentioned the hard rock. So what are your thoughts right now as far as live performances? That's obviously another issue. So are you going to have them I guess you kind of had them more outs in 2019, kind of have them outside events. So that could be an approach. So their outdoors could be safer, or could it be at the Hard Rock Cafe? I mean, what are your thoughts there right now?
I think that's going to be determined a little bit later. And I do believe it's going to be more outside. The concert industry, we're working very closely with, all the groups that are trying to reopen venues, clubs, concert halls, festivals, stadiums. We're very involved in all the lobbying and with the Event Safety Alliance, how do we return safely? It's moving forward. It's not quite there yet as to how all this will come together, but I think it's going to be much more about outdoor performances than it is about packed clubs at this point. Again, that could change by summer. I don't think so, but just I'm glad to be working with real professionals in that sense of how do we bring, the largest promoters, the largest sound and light companies in the venues, everyone's working together to say, how do we do this right? No one wants to go back and get it wrong prematurely or worse, be responsible for someone's, a reversal of this recovery. No one wants to be that, that industry. So we have to take that very carefully, I think, and we've got some time on that. Luckily, we're still 3.5 months out. Got some time to sort some of those things out, but it'll be I think it's going to be more outdoor music, which is fine for Nashville.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just itching to see a live performance, and I'm sure everyone else is. So I don't care where you put it. You could put it in someone's backyard. I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
It may be.
That might be where it ends up. I mean, who lives in Nashville? I don't know. JC Curley from Gibson. Maybe we should talk to him about.
Speaking of that, again, this is all going to be determined on international restrictions, but I've gotten more members from Japan and, for example, Germany saying, "Hey, I think I'm coming to Summer NAMM this year. Wow. I don't usually go, but man, I miss you guys." And if travel willing, I think we're going to see more international at Summer NAMM than we had in the past. Not particularly because of anything other than it's been 18 months and they're hungry to see their industry partners again. And many of them have this fascination with, hey, what's Nashville like anyway? This may be the reason, this may be the year we get a lot more international attendance to Summer NAMM too, which would be interesting.
It will be fascinating. Hey, Joe. Well, thanks for all the information. It was great stuff, really enlightening. I hope all the retailers watching, will say, I hope more than just retailers watching, but of all the retailers watching, who are our main viewers, I want to say, hopefully you got some ideas about, the safety there and what you can expect. Again, we'll get into another interview about the actual details, the actual breakfast sessions, what you might want to do, the education sessions. We'll follow up with that once we have more information about that. But thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to add? I always want to let you have the last word, because that's what you should get.
Well, it is important to note that we're going to try and have the industry motorcycle ride together again after the show, up to Tail the Dragon, the road between Tennessee and North Carolina has this unbelievable motorcycle road called Tail of the Dragon. So I'm going to put that out there for industry folks who want to ride. It'll probably be a Saturday morning departure from Nashville, and a way to put a capper on a good week in Nashville. But the NAMM motorcycle riders will ride again after the summer show. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope to see that. And you got to bring back the NAMM. What was it called? The staph infection. You got to have a performance.
Yeah, I got a lot of great talent on this team still.
You got some great players.
It's great to be part of an organization where I'm actually the worst drummer on the staff. It's pretty cool.
That says you're pretty talented. All right, well, thanks, Joe. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Joe Lamond, President and CEO of NAMM, for joining us. Really appreciate it, and we look forward to Summer NAMM. We hope it's happening right now. Everybody, Summer NAMM is on in person, not a virtual event. So
no Zoom. Okay. I think one of the things we're actually going to do, because there are going to be lots of just meetings that occur. So we're going to have a whole meeting like an Admirals Club. And in that, I'm going to have Zoom studios set up. So even if vendors want to do some Zoom meetings for dealers who might not come, we're going to have Zoom studios set up in Nashville. I don't know how that fits into the whole tail dog kind of thing, but yeah, in a physical show, we're going to have some Zoom studios. So anyway, covering all.
We will have a component for education sessions for Zoom as well. Is that?
Absolutely, yeah. All that.
Okay. I figured out in case people can't make it, they will be able to get.
Zach is putting together a great educational lineup again for the dealers. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it, and we look forward to it. I look forward to getting up from this chair and getting up from my desk, which is the only place I go other than being at my house.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother.
So I appreciate that, and I'm excited to see it. And if it could be safe, then I'm happy to be there. So.
It's got to be first and foremost. We got to take care of people, right? That's the gig. Got to take care of all our friends. So we will.
Okay. Well, thank you.